Hard rain. 26 July, 26 July. It's no longer a date, it's a phrase. It's a phrase that TV channels and newspapers invoke whenever they are trying to look at the preparedness of Bombay or Mumbai before the rains. And let's put up. Okay. And it's also the time from where they get the clips when they are playing it on the newsreels, right? For the three people in the audience who don't know what I'm talking about 26 July 2005, the worst floods that at least I have lived through. At that time, I was in Kalina, a place that a lot of people considered the epicenter of the floods. Kalina was where my office was. I'm a software entrepreneur, and my two partners and I had been extraordinarily proud when we moved to this office space in Kalina, because before that, we had been in a string of apartments converted into working spaces. So when we moved into this place, which had nice curvy pillars, a lot of glass, a lot of colors, red, green, orange, a TT table, football table, 70 cubicles, we thought we had arrived. We thought that was a kind of a validation of our success of our business. My first memory of the day is coming back from a client visit in a taxi, and it started raining. It was not one of those light, misty rains that makes you put your head up and sing a Bollywood song. It was not even those rains where it sounds like a lot of gravel is being poured into a bucket of water. It was that hard rain where each drop falls on the ground with a huge splat and breaks up into small droplets of water. And it had been raining like that for an hour. We were in this Premier Padmini taxi, Fiat taxi, and the driver was hunched up near the windshield because his wipers were moving very, very slowly against the sheet of water that was coming onto the windshield. And once in a while, he would take his sleeve and try to rub off the condensation inside. But most of the times, he would just look out of the window and see if wherever he was going was correct or not. He asked us, "Yahan pani to nahi jamta hai? Does it flood here?" I kind of leaned back and said, "It may flood in all of Mumbai, but this place is safe." Which was true, because in the 5 years that I had been living and working in that area, it never had flood in the area on the CST road near the university. So the driver dropped us and hopefully went away wherever he was supposed to go. And we went in. We had this U-shaped office. The door of the office was on one side, and I sat in a cubicle on the other end of the door. Half an hour later, I heard some commotion outside, and I went up and said, just to see what was happening. Everyone was switching off the computers. Sandeep, one of my partners and our CEO, told everyone to do that because he said some water was coming in. I said, okay. Went and saw at the door, and there was just a little water coming in, as if someone had poured half a bucket of water outside. So again, I said, and went out in search of a solution. Came back with a solution, put a row of bricks with cement and sand, and that solution worked for 5 minutes. More water started coming in. It was as if someone had left a hose pipe outside the door. Sandeep asked everyone to take their computers and put it on top of the desk. Take it away from the stands on the floor and put it on top of the desk. I went out, found a 1 foot high and maybe 4 foot wide plank of wood, and made a much better dam this time. This was backed by a lot of bricks and bags of cement. And outside our office was at a lower level than the driveway, and there was a ankle deep layer of water flowing in. Without the dam, it would have all flown into our office. And I came back. Sandeep had switched off the mains and was asking everyone to put the computers, take it from the top of the desk and put it on top of the cubicle walls. Frankly, I thought it was overreacting, because even if the water came in, it would maximum go ankle high, shin high, ankle high, nothing more than that. But anyway, we had nothing to do. So because the lights were switched off, so all of us decided that we will go to 2 flats. A colleague of mine used to live nearby, and my own 1 BHK apartment was also nearby. So 30 went into one flat, mostly women, and the 30 guys came with me. And all of us reached my home. Everyone, because that's a wise thing to do, right? When it starts raining in Mumbai, you just stay put because the transport system is going to collapse. We know that. So people made phone calls to their homes, telling them that they were safe and finding out whether their loved ones were safe or not. Around 5 o'clock, I think the electricity went off. I came to find out later that the utility had switched off the lights because a lot of areas of Mumbai had started flooding. In fact, in many areas, including my own house, it took a week for the electricity to come back, but that is later. So yeah, people were calling up. Around I think 5:15, Vodafone died. BPL Mobile followed soon after, and Idea just after that. Tata Cellular, I think, fought on for another 15 minutes and then it too gave up. So there were all of us sitting around looking at the rain outside. The topic of backups came up. Dheeraj, my other partner, said, "Are we backed up?" I said, "Of course we are. We have a very good backup policy. We take up off-site backups twice every week, and we take backups every day. The system is 100% foolproof." Turned out it was not 100% foolproof. I'm sure you guessed it, right? So one of the product managers sheepishly looked at us and said, "You know what? His team had not been putting the code into the backup directory as he was supposed to." So there were a lot of stares and there was a lot of looking at the floor. And Sandeep and Dheeraj cut through that and said, "You know what? Let's go to the office, get some computers out. We need to do that." It was only when we reached the office I realized that we probably were not overreacting, because out in the doorway, the water was nearly to my chest level. My dam was irrelevant because the water was not going through the door, it was going through the windows of the office now. So actually my dam was not irrelevant. My dam prevented us from opening the door, so we had to break open a window and get in. We formed a chain to the office nearby on the first floor, and one by one we started taking the computers out. The first computer we took out very gingerly, making sure that it does not fall in the water. Handling it to other person very, very carefully, taking it out of the window, covering it with plastic wrapping and giving it an umbrella so that it didn't get wet. By the 10th computers, we were just giving as fast as we could. We went in with 2 torches. By the 15th computer, one of the torches conked off. So there we were in rising water, by then at more than my chest level inside the office, with one torch between our neck and chin, and passing computers from one to another. We took a lot of precautions. We made sure that no one was more than 2 or 3 feet from the next person in the chain. We kept talking to the person next to us in the chain. Very, very sensible precautions, which could not hide the really idiotic thing we were doing. Because if anyone had slipped in the water, had got entangled in the wires, had got entangled in a chair and had fallen down in that water, it would have been very, very difficult to get that person out. I think by the 30th computer, it dawned on me also that what we are doing is not really the smartest thing, because anytime a colleague moved, the water would brush my chin, and all of us tall guys were standing like this inside the office, and the shorter guys were outside. So I decided that we should call the whole mission off, and I told my partners, who were slightly shorter than me and hence outside, and they said, "Yeah, let's just call it quits." Some of our employees actually disagreed. One in particular I remember, our HR manager called Gurdeepak Singh. He was a Sardar. So a Sardi plus Gurdeepak, we obviously would call him Gurdi. So Gurdi said, no, Yogesh, we can get a few more computers out. That's not a problem at all. Fortunately, we kind of overruled him. As an aside, Gurdi, 2 years after that, quit his HR business and he went and started learning mountaineering. And he dreams of climbing the Everest right now. So I think that's pretty appropriate. We came out of the office and there was a very weird scene in front of us. Obviously the water was at chest level, but it was all red in color, because the engine oil from all the parked cars had leaked out and had made the water all red. And it was lit by the headlights because all the headlights of the cars had shorted. So a few headlights were on, it was lit there. And I had this mad impulse. And I stopped walking and for 10 feet swam in that water. So if any of you goes to Dani Complex CST Road and walks around there, you can proudly claim to have met the only person who has swum there. We reached home, and two of my colleagues scrounged around in the bachelor pad and came up with an exotic meal of a little bit of khichdi, half slice of bread each, slivers of boiled egg, and bikaneri bhujia. We finished that meal, and there was no electricity, there was no TV, the mobiles were not working by then, so we had no way of knowing what was happening in the city. And pretty soon we decided to go to sleep, because how many times are you going to say, wow, I can't believe this, wow. It was a strange night. So there were 30 of us. I could provide dry shorts and trousers for most of us, but I couldn't obviously provide so many bed sheets. So we slept in two rooms next to each other in rows on sheets of paper. And I woke up many times at night. Whenever I woke up, I could hear the sounds of snoring of my colleagues. On top of that, I could hear the sound of the wailing of car alarms across the neighborhood as the water climbed up. You could hear the sound of dogs howling in the stairwells as the water rose, and that was the only place for them to hide. Their howling was a much more articulate expression of their feelings than our vows. And on top of that, at all times, there was a sound of rain, hard rain, insistent hard rain. I understood later that it rained 95 centimeters that night in the 24-hour period starting at 8 o'clock in the morning. So just to give you an idea, Bombay gets an annual rainfall of 250 centimeters. So in one 24-hour period, we had more than 1/3 of the rain that you get in 1 year. I come from a city, Udaipur, which is called the City of Lakes. That gets a rainfall around 65 centimeters. Between 2 o'clock in the afternoon to 8 o'clock at night, Bombay had a rainfall of 70 centimeters. So in one 6-hour period, we had a rainfall more than what you get in a city of lake for the entire year. And it was not just the rain. What we all know that the Mumbai drains into the sea. It drains into the sea only if the tide is low, not in the high tide, right? So and it was one of the seasonal high tides. So it was a perfect storm. No water was going out. It took 48 hours for the water to dry down enough for us to go back to the office. And the first thing we saw outside the office building, outside the office door, was a huge dead pig lying on its back, bloated from a lot of water. I understand that in addition to a lot of people, thousands of animals died in that flood. It was difficult for us to go inside the office, and it was not because of my dam. It was not because of the knee-high slush which was still there in the office, mixed with the contents of the septic tank which had backed up. It was not because of the fact that strewn in this slush were our computers, our notebooks, our carom tables and everything. I think it was because my two partners and me were thinking whether we will be able to get the business back on track at all. So I feel that in entrepreneurship, a lot of times we talk about dealing with failures. I think dealing with success is also a lot of times as difficult. It's like when you're pushing up a rock up a hill, you take it up inch by inch, quarter by quarter, year by year. It is going up all the time, but you are afraid anytime it's going to slip from your hands and come crashing down the hill. Well, that day we could see it go down the hill, trample some computers, go over some cars, and then fall in a slush-filled pool. So, whenever there is a flood in Mumbai, or there is a bombing, or if a few people come in with guns and shoot other people, commentators talk about the spirit of Mumbai. And frankly, I find that phrase slightly irritating. I feel that whenever our city has this, something like this happens, we curse the inadequacy of the administration, of the civic administration, of the police, and in our hearts we know that nothing is going to change. So we just talk of spirit of Mumbai. But in our case, the spirit of Mumbai did work to some extent. 48 hours after the worst floods in Mumbai, in our all living memories, a flood in which we all discovered that there's a river that goes through the middle of the city. 80% of our employees were there at work. A few of them went to different client sites to assure them that even though our office was down, our business wasn't. The rest jumped in with us to clean the office. Jumped into, there's no other way of saying it, jumped into shit. One of our first visitors was a real estate broker named Umesh Lad. Even if Umesh wasn't one of the most honest and most helpful real estate brokers, I would recommend him to anyone because of his sense of humor. And which other broker has Musafir hu yaro na ghar hai na thikana? That's a Kishore Kumar song which translates into I am a traveler, I don't have a house and I don't have an address. I think that's a pretty cool caller tune for a real estate broker. So Umesh, within another 2 or 3 days, had arranged for us another alternative office, which couldn't seat the 70 people that we had, but it could seat 10 people. And in shifts, for 1.5 months, we worked in shift, making sure that we discharged most of our obligations that we had to, the immediate obligations. Our IT support partner sent 3 engineers who worked with us for 15 days, 15 hours a day, opening every computer, drying it under halogen lamps, cleaning it with alcohol, and then putting it all back together and trying to see if they worked. For future reference, even if computers are soaked in water for 48 hours, dirty water at that, if they are dried and put back together again, except for the hard disk, everything works fine. We recovered 90% of our computers and 80% of our monitors. Even our clients were very gracious and helpful. All of them agreed to delaying our deadlines. A few of them even paid their bills on time, something that people don't do as a matter of principle. So someone asked me recently, why were people so helpful? Why did they work so hard? Why did they work so relentlessly? Was it because of the spirit of Mumbai? Was it because you had a startup and people felt a sense of ownership? Or was it because tough times get people together? I think there is a truth in all of that. But I think the biggest thing is they were just great people. And great people do what great people do. 2 months after that, life was back to normal. Back to normal except for 2 things. Two of our office boys for 3 months had to take every sheet of paper in every contract and tax document that we had and put it over naked bulbs and dry every paper. One of my office boys, Deepak, used to say, "Sir, papad belne ja raha hu main." And that's another learning. Even if you soak printed paper in shit for 48 hours, as long as you dry it up nicely, it is usable. And the second thing is, for many years after that, anytime we trained hard for half an hour or 1 hour, I would get calls from my partners and my colleagues to say, if it was after office hours, they would ask me, go and check if it is flooding. And I would be going and checking anyway. Oh yeah, a third thing. I don't do as much as I used to. Thank you very much.